Yeah, you're welcome back. There was no trader chat last week as we looked ahead to Royal Ascot the week before, but now we're going to reflect on Royal Ascot. For me, it was an epic week. Crowds back in full, limited crowds actually to make it a bit more comfortable, including Flynn, who was there in very, very hot weather. Some unbelievable races, a lot of controversy as well. And how did it go for Star Sports? It was a bit of a mixed bag, I think, for punters and Star Sports. So we'll get to that with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward. We'll talk the golf as well. A victory for Fitzpatrick, a lot of the fancied runners in the frame in the US Open. And the Star Sports Greyhound Derby is down to the final. And it's pretty much two's the field as well. So has an open enough look to it. There's only one place to start, though. It was an absolute shocker of a Royal Ascot for Frankie Dettori. How was it for you, Flynn?
I think we had a worse week than Frankie Dettori, actually. No. When you said it was, when you turned around and said it was a mixed bag, potentially for Star Sports, I was thinking it was a bag of something, and I'm not going to say the other word on camera, but
bag of sand to all the people you get to pay out.
Yeah, exactly. Towards the start of the week, it was good, and then towards the end of the week, it was a car crash. A lot of the people watching this would have known the bets that we laid because they went out on ITV and in Simon Knott's blogs and on Twitter and all that type of stuff.
Front page in the Racing Post at times.
Yes, yeah. I think I actually got a quote with some of the with the Friday in the Racing Post. I was speaking to James from the Racing Post and did a quick piece on how Friday went for us, which was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, so the Royal Ascot week is kind of like starts off with a sick patient who essentially by the end is near death. Sounds like how the Star Sports experience was. It was bad and it got worse.
It certainly did. So we started off with the Queen Anne. So one of the performances of the week, but one of the most talented horses of the week. I'm not sure if it's performance of the week, but Baid got the punts off to a flyer here. Again, it's just one of those prizes where I'd like to say it's too short to lay on course, but it turned out it wasn't. On the track, someone had 12,000 cash at 6 on. There was nothing really against it. We laid order of Australia, lumpy each way in the office, each way obviously only 2 places. So not a bad bet to lay at all, and we were happy to keep that one. So Baid wasn't the worst result to start with. Brad Sell then in the Coventry laid 1,500 each way on the pitch at 8-1, went off 8-1 and won. The well-backed Persian Force was back in second. Persian Force finishing second was a good result for the office. Obviously not a great result for us on the track. Then moving on to the King's Stand, day one at Royal Ascot really is just uber stuff. The King's Stand, Nature Strip, they're pretty easy to back Nature Strip at 9-4. Golden Power was the one that really shortened up in the market. We laid a 15,000 to 5 early on, so at 3-1, $5 grand for Golden Power. That shortened into 15 to 8. Never ran any sort of a race, and as you were talking about some jockey issues, Ortiz had some issues here.
Apparently, his sectionals early on in the race were incredible. He was incredibly fast in the race. The problem was there were still 4 furlongs to go, and he was already a furlong behind.
Yeah, and some of the comments from Ortiz afterwards were a bit bewildering, really, just saying that he didn't know that horses could be scratched at the start. But you could argue that if you're riding in one of the biggest sprints at Royal Ascot in a different country, you should really know the rules, to be fair. So I think he was probably at fault there for Golden Power. But Nature Strip, a fantastic performance, winning at 9-4, not a bad result for us at all. Caribus was a poor result on course, as you can imagine. No, probably shouldn't have actually. We actually laid Lucelle each way as well on the pitch. So even if Lucelle hadn't beaten Caribus, it would have been too much better. As you can imagine, a very poor result in the office. This would have been one of our pipped races. So we obviously ran our pipped offer that if you finish second, beaten second by half a length or less, then you would have got your stake back up to 50 quid. And actually 12 races qualified for this offer. So some very, very tight races and a lot of people getting free bets when your horse came second. So that was just one of them in the St James's Palace. Moving on to the Ascot Stakes, this was a very good result for us actually on the Tuesday. Bring on the night beat. We laid 10,000 at 11-4 in cash on the pitch. So getting that one beat, and I know it was very popular in the office as well by Coltrane, was a great result. And just a quick word on Arcadian Sunrise, because obviously has unfortunately died in recent days following a short illness. So thoughts out to connections there. Had all of his career ahead of him. and Sean right up on the day as well, and ran a great race. So force out to Connections there, Johnny, in the Ascot Stakes.
Definitely, yeah. They were prepping him for the Galway hurdle, and they don't really know actually what happened. But very sad demise for Arcadian Sunrise, who obviously ran so many good races. Let's move on to day two then, which, let's be fair, didn't start very well. Dramatized was so good on her debut, was so good again in the Queen Mary.
She was, and a terrible result on the pitch and in the office, as you can imagine. A well-backed 5-2 favourite. Similarly, in the Queen's Vase after that, Elderov, another favourite, going in, a poor result for us. Then it started to get a bit better. We laid some decent money on Baybridge in the Prince of Wales, could collect an even 10,000, even 5,000. So getting Baybridge beat by State of Rest, Joe's O'Brien horse, who was really well back late as
Big
well.
Big gamble on the track, yeah.
Yeah, really, really late this was, but we didn't see much of the money. It was all piling into the machine. So Sean into 5-1 from 8-1. So that was a great result for us. Saffron Beach, even though the joint favourite, that was another good result. She absolutely bolted up. It was the joint favourite, Bashka over that we kept laying there. I think I laid an 11,000 to 4 early on. Went off 5-2 joint favourite. The Royal Hunt Cup, even though Dark Shift was a 13-2 shot, that wasn't a terrible result. Little Big Bear wasn't a great result, and then we copped a decent result in the last race. So after 2 days at Royal Ascot, I believe that we were just in front.
Okay, so now we're approaching the halfway stage on Thursday, which started off with one of the most controversial races of the week. I think if justice were done here, Starsource would have been copping paying out in a well-backed favourite, even though that actually might not be justice, but it would have been better than the Riddler holding on to the race at 50-1, which is obviously a good result for bookmakers. Might be a good result for race as well. It might actually force the authorities to look at reckless, dangerous riding like this, because Paul Hannigan is not getting a 10-day ban, and that's just the end of it, because he still holds on to the race, and he's a Royal Ascot winner. He's obviously riding a winner for Richard Fahey. They've had an acrimonious sort of breakup of sorts. That was the start. The highlight for me on the day was clearly in the Gold Cup, but talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a really poor riding from Paul Hannigan, wasn't it, in the first race? As bookmakers, we're not complaining, but a really poor ride, and hopefully for racing's sake, in terms of the officiating of these rules, change will happen, and hopefully it's officiated more like countries across the sea, where they're a little bit harsher for this type of interference. It doesn't really matter how far you're beaten. If you are dangerous riding, then you are thrown out, and hopefully that will change. But a decent result for us in the Norfolk nonetheless. Moving on to the King George Secret State one there. Not a great result with the 4-1 joint favourite winning. We got a decent result in the Ribblesdale, getting Cecil Rowe beat. We actually laid her at big prices anti-post, around 20-1, 16-1. So people obviously knew that she was a very good horse before she won at Goodwood. The Magical Lagoon pulling out the fire was a decent result on the track. Kyprios, not so good. We laid a 7,000 to 4 and very, very popular in the office, as you could imagine. Stradivarius was also very popular just a few days before the race at around 9-2, 4-1. Mojo Stark absolutely collapsed in the market late on, was very, very well backed and ran as if people fancied him to. But Kyprios just got the job done there. Thesis was a good result in the Britannia. I felt like we laid so many bets on Jimi Hendrix in that race. Just people coming up and betting Jimi Hendrix. You could argue that Frankie probably should have got the job done on Saga there as well. And then the real result for us, and not for the Queen, came in the Hampton Court Stakes, where Claymore just outstayed Reach for the Moon. We laid some decent bets on Reach for the Moon, so we were very happy to see that one beat. And that meant that over the first 3 days that we were well in front after this stage.
Yeah, I think outstayed is the word there. Reach the Moon just didn't really get home. But on to the Friday, which began with, I thought, a very good form to Meditate, who I think is actually well worth looking at for the Guineas next year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a day where it just all went to pot for us, really. Meditate, we laid, lay 3 grand at 7-2 on the rails pitch, and then on the Tats pitch, we laid a 40,000 at 12, so 12,100 to 30. So that kind of just wiped out our week, and we were just in front after that race, after losing just over 50 grand. So that was a real tough start in the Albany. Perfect Power made that even worse. I laid 8 grand at 4-1 on the pitch, and again was a poor result in the office, as you can imagine, a 7-2. Strong favourite winning there. And then moving on to Candleford in the Duke of Edinburgh, that was an okay result. I think it was a taker in both of the books, so that wasn't too bad, winning at 11-2. Then in Spiral, laid a 90,000 to 40, so 40 grand at 9-4 on the pitch. So that was a poor result. We were well behind then at that stage. Never looked beaten. She just looked a proper filly, didn't she? There was vibes coming out that she wasn't working very well, but not being funny, when she does work well, she'll be even better. So Inspiral was a proper machine in the Coronation. Heredia, again, another very, very good filly in the Sandringham, but no kind of huge bets laid, but was just a loser in the book, on course and in the office. And then coming on to the King Edward's Stakes, this was the most sickening race I think I've ever watched in my life. We had 100,000 at 13 to 8. I know. 100,000 at 13 to 8 and 100,000 at 6 to 4, so 200 total on course as a hedge bet to another bookmaker who were laying these punters, and then they were giving us a lot of the bet because they weren't necessarily comfortable with the full liability, obviously standing it for a lot themselves as well. But
the Racing Post comments like changing of the guard just did enough. Like he just did enough because Grand Alliance ran into Berkshire. Like I mean, he was all over the track. He's rated 98. He's the only horse he beats. Ottoman Fleet is disappointing. So I was dead against changing of the guard. I think he's as slow as a boat, but he still won.
Yeah, I think the place to be was that far side rail, and he just had the run of the race. And then Danny Tudhope probably didn't straighten up Grand Alliance quick enough. He's hit him twice. If he straightened him up after the first hit, I think he wins the length. It was an excruciating watch and a really difficult watch because you couldn't tell where on the track if he was in front or behind because they were so far apart. Me and Lofty actually went to watch this race on the by where we were standing the first couple of days, because we actually moved pitches. We moved back to 3 on the second row, and day before I think we were 4 on the front row. And because we'd had such bad luck throughout that day, we actually went and stood 4 on the front row to see if we could turn our luck around. And we thought for a good bit of time that we had, and then he just got up. It was an absolute sickener, and we were miles behind. We did £454,000 on the TAS pitch on day 4 of Royal Ascot. So not a good day.
That reminds me of like watching a race at the race course where they have like the feed from the TV and they have the live feed. So if it could be like a 6 or 7 second delay. So if your horse isn't traveling well on the live feed, go back to the other feed and you might be traveling better. Superstition can get the better of you when things are going badly. There were some very good results for the punters, for the bookies rather, on the last day, starting off with a completely mad renewal of the Chesham, where you have this young Irish trainer thinking he's going to win the Chesham with an 80-1 chance that he had backed. And it was done by a 40-1 newcomer who was only there because the owner fancied a jolly.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is story of the week, isn't it? We obviously, when we're on course, we don't really get the chance to take in all these stories and all that type of stuff. But when I got home, I obviously watched the ITV interview, and this was just fantastic watching a fellow Arsenal fan as well, which we always like to see for Holloway Boyd. But what a performance first time out. I think that the race probably isn't up to much. The fact that it's a 40-18-33 post, and then Alfred Munnings ran no sort of race. But a fantastic performance first time up to win the listed Chesham anyway. Obviously a very good result for us. We laid 150,000 at 6 to 5 on Alfred Munnings on track.
Wow.
So to get that one beat was a great start. And then we have thoughts that we could get out on the week here if these punters keep coming in. The Jersey Stakes, obviously a poor result here with Noble Truth winning at 4-1, well backed. A really good ride as well. But again, the big hitters weren't playing here, so it wasn't one that could really turn our meeting around. Then we moved on to the Hardwick. Broome obviously won this race. Hurricane Lane, we didn't have these big punters coming in on course, unfortunately. It was one you probably wanted to lay first time back off a layoff. It was just a short one that you really wanted to lay. We laid someone at 10,000 to 8 on, and I think I laid him a further 5,000 to 4 on. I say big punters weren't coming in, the £100,000 punters in, but the kind of £1,000 punters were still getting involved with Hurricane Lane. So we're still a decent result on track. And we copped about 25 grand or something like that. Naval Crown, obviously a good result, 33-1 in the Platinum Jubilee. The places weren't too kind there. Campanelli, who obviously won the race previously, was really well backed in from about 20-1 into 10. Creative Force, again, another winner at the Royal meeting, I think, in previous years. Comes second there at 12-1. So the places weren't too kind in that race. Then moving on to the Wokingham, we have got a decent result here. Again, another good ride from Ryan Moore. He's riding out of his skin at the moment, isn't he? Winning at 18-1. And then the race that kind of just sealed off our week was Mr. Cut in the Golden Gate Stakes, unfortunately. 70,000 at 11-4 and 70,000 at 5-2 with a 20p rule force. So instead of doing 400 grand, we've done 320 odds. But we still did plenty. There was no chance of getting out of them. We firmly done over £500,000 on the week on course. And even Stratton winning at 10-1 in the last race could get us nowhere near getting out. So a tough week on course. It was great to see the punters out there, though. Ascot did a fantastic job this week, I thought.
By all accounts, yeah.
The way they, yeah. I thought the way they ran things was absolutely fantastic. I can't really pick faults in a huge amount, to be honest. I didn't see any fights while I was there. I'm sure there might have been somewhere people do fight on race courses, but I didn't see any. There was loads of stewarding. It was just really, really well run. The only thing that they could maybe pick up on would be the toilets. The toilet queues for the women was just horrific. For the men, it was all right, but for the women was always out the door. So that's probably something they need to look at, which I'm sure they will. But if that's the only thing you're talking about in terms of Ascot, I think we're in pretty good shape. So a tough week for us on course. I think it was okay in the office in the end. But yeah, that is where we're at in terms of Royal Ascot 22.
Yeah, it was a brilliant Royal Ascot. So many talking points, and keep an eye out on the website for the Irish Derby, the big classic this weekend as well. At Curra, hopefully I'll be there on Saturday. Let's move on though to the golf. Now, as you say, Fitzpatrick wins this. Loisley says to get the monkey off his back, but what do you make of McIlroy? Started off so well on the Thursday, and again, just didn't happen for him.
Well, he obviously won the Canadian Open the week before, so he might have been feeling the effects of that. He's still hitting the ball really, really well. He was just in snatches. He had some fantastic par saves on day one, and he was obviously right at the top of the leaderboard. And then he just didn't quite have it the last couple of days. He was still hitting the birdies, but he was still hitting the bogeys. If he limited the bogeys, he probably would have gone very, very close. Well, he did go very close, to be fair. But the places weren't particularly kind to us here. When you look at the stacked leaderboard, Scheffler, McIlroy, Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick was pretty well found in the market as well. So these majors, where they're playing really difficult, the cream really is rising to the top. And I think you probably want to be playing towards the front of the market. Fitzpatrick ended up being our worst winner in the book, so not the worst result in the world. We laid Rahm heavily at 9-2 going into the final round, and McIlroy was the only other loser for us. So Rahm was win only, so that's not the end of the world, and at least we copped some money with Matt Fitzpatrick running. Going on to win, and we've obviously got the 150th Open coming up in the middle of July, so that's only a few weeks away. I'll actually be going for the Saturday and Sunday of that with the missus, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, golf's absolutely thriving at the moment. I don't think it's ever been more popular as a punting proposition, but also as a watching proposition.
Yeah, the Saudis obviously love it anyway, but that's for another day. Yeah, interesting that it's still kind of hanging over everything, even including the US Open. But we're going to finish with the Greyhound Derby. We're actually Tuesday field now. Kildare and Romeo Magico, and pardon my ignorance on this, but the favourite, the Andy Post favourite, is gone here because this book has turned into far more open. It's Price's Jet is 130, Hello Hammond 6-1, Mickey's Bar 10s, Savannah Bow 20-1.
Yes, exactly. So Balimbula Ed, who was the favourite, got knocked out last week. So in terms of how the book looks like in the office, we obviously run an anti-post book on course as well, but the book in the office, Price's Jet would be a loser, Kildare would be a loser, and then the field wins. So Savannah Bow is a okay winner. Hello Hammond is a decent winner. Romeo Magico is actually a decent winner in the office, but I know that we've laid someone on course 1,000 at 25s. Right. So they've had a 25,000 to 1 Romeo Magico, who's a 2-1 shot. I believe that we've laid Kildare on course as well. So we've also lost Lataro from here, who I know that we've laid anti-post. So I think that Lofty referred to our anti-post book as average at best. So we'll be looking for a few results as we go into the final coming Saturday. We will have a good few pitches there. I think we're going to have 3 pitches there. I'll be doing one. Lofty will be doing one. I can't remember who's doing the other.
Will the great man Ben Keith himself be there?
The great man Ben Keith shall be there on the main pitch with Lofty, Ben and Gary on the front, and then Carmen and Lofty in behind. So there'll be lots of Star Sports faces there. Simon Knott will be there. Hannah Baycroft will be there. A lot of star faces will be there on Saturday night. So do come down to Toaster. Do come and say hello, and do definitely come and have a bet in the Star Sports Ground Derby, which culminates on Saturday. Yeah,
that might have been average at best from Lofty in terms of the book, but what you would have done for an average at best Royal Ascot, it was punters who were on top. Star Sports were far more of a hit than I thought. Thank you, Flynn.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Trader Chat with Flynn Goward and Johnny Ward. We'll be back next week after the Irish Derby, and we'll know the winner of the Star Sports Greyhound Derby. Talk to you then.